Well, in general, everybody seems to agree that everybody deserves a second chance. But when Governor Schwarzenegger gave a couple of folks second chances on his last day in office, it raised some eyebrows. Political analyst John Dadian here this morning to kind of address the situation here and whether or not we should be concerned. John, first off, talk to me about, compare and contrast here two different cases. The case of this woman who killed her former pimp, and Esteban Nunez, who was involved in this stabbing. They both had their sentences altered, but for different reasons.
Correct, and it is apples and oranges, because the biggest difference between those two cases is his case is still going through the court system. It's not finalized yet. They filed an appeal. Her case is over 20 years old. She was 16 at the time. The gentleman was raping her, was 37 years old. And the only change in her sentence was from life without parole to the possibility of parole. She will still be in prison probably most of her life.
So this is somebody who, nobody seemed to have a big problem with this, and she's still in prison.
Absolutely.
But the Esteban Nunez case, people really went into a big uproar and furor over this one. Were they justified?
Absolutely. On the last day in office, on the 31st, Governor Schwarzenegger commuted or pardoned about almost a dozen different cases, etc. The Nunez case is completely different than all of the others for this reason. Almost all of the others are over 20 or 30 years old. All of the others, people have served their full sentence. All of the others, people have served their complete parole. And all of the others, people have a demonstrated community service. There's one gentleman that was recognized, actually, his crime was 30 years ago, but in the year since, he was recognized by our local DA, District Attorney Association, for his charitable work, and he helped in the fire. So he has a proven, and so he just wants a pardon just so he can say to himself, it's still on the record that he committed a crime. Nunez, actually, one of Schwarzenegger's justification was that he was not the one who killed the victim. That's technically true, but the fight that ensued, Nunez actually did stab other victims, and Nunez was involved in destroying evidence. None of that really made the media.
So, again, without trying to insert ourselves into this, but just trying to be objective about how you analyze this, it looks to be a political payback of some sort. I mean, that's what it appears to be. Is there any justification for thinking that, though?
If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, you know where I'm going with this one. This is pure political payback. As you know my background, Mark, I have worked for elected officials before I started my own private business, etc. This is exactly why the average citizen on the street has a bad opinion about politicians. He took care of his buddy, and he did it specifically at the expense of a victim's family. You've heard the comments by the parents. They're outraged. Normal procedure is someone, whether it be from the governor's office or a local DA office, would have contacted the victims. Victims heard about it through the media. Can't blame the DA. They didn't know about it either.
Yeah, a reporter actually called up the victims' families, and they were shocked to hear this from a reporter. Now, when you went to research this, information easy to find?
No, what happened was, again, they used the term the 11th hour. The governor did it on his last day in office. And so what happened the next day, new governor gets sworn in, they switched the website, and so all of a sudden it's all Jerry Brown stuff, and you really have to dig. Another interesting point, the governor's been in since 2003. Look at his first year commutations. The first year when he made pardons, it was only 3. There were 4 minor crimes. And again, it was this pattern of they were over 20 years ago, and these people really rehabilitated themselves. The fact that he did it on his last year in office, his last day in office, and again, for somebody who committed a violent crime and who's not even finished through the court system, it's just outrageous is a term I hear on the street.
Well, let's see if there's a bottom line here. I mean, anything else that can be done in this case, or once the governor speaks, is the person pardoned and that's it?
I'm hearing through the legal community that some people are looking at the possibility, but realistically, no. It certainly was within his jurisdiction. It is within his powers. You remember, this is not completely unprecedented. At the federal level, President Clinton did some pretty shady things on his last year also.
Well, then the question becomes, though, does the person doing the pardoning or the commuting of sentences have any reason to care what people think? Now, if you're going to run for future office, it might come back to bite you. But if you don't have any future aspirations, then they can do whatever they want, I guess, and not care what the public's perception is.
Which is exactly why I gave you the example of his first year pardons. It was just 3 cases. There weren't violent crimes, and they were over 20 years old, almost 30 years old, etc. He knew he was going to be running for re-election. This time, he's not only not running for re-election, but realistically might not serve in office again. But again, he did it not only at the expense of every California citizen whose concern is public safety, but at this family. This poor family now has to live with this. Think about this for a second. He changed it to approximately about 7 years. In 7 years, Nunez, who took part in their son's killing, will be walking the streets. Parents are going to have to live with that 7 years from now.
All right, political analyst John Dadian. Thanks for coming in and breaking it down and doing so much research on that story as well.
Thanks.
All right, for more information, you go to SanDiego6.com and you click on Hot Topics.